insurance agents from around the world. Welcome to the Insurance Guys Podcast. My name is Scott Howell, your fearless host and leader, insurance agency owner and insurance evangelist for I Protect Insurance and Financial Services, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. And before we get started on today's episode, please help me welcome. He is a 6'3" sophomore from Mobile, Alabama, parade first team All-American, Rivals 5-star recruit. He is a fantastic insurance agent and a great American. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome the incomparable Mr. Bradley Flowers. How are you, Bradley?
Fantastic. What about you?
Man, I'm doing the best I've ever done. Bradley, I'll tell you what, that little short podcast we just did, that was fantastic. We should do more of those. It was only, I asked.
It's only taken me 7 years to convince you to do a short podcast.
Man, I'm telling you, 30 minutes is the perfect amount of time to get in and get out. You know what I mean? But
it is, unless you have something very important to talk about.
Correct.
You know.
No, you're right about that. Now, Bradley and I have just returned from lunch with our friend Rand and videographer. And Bradley, once again, driving without using hands or feet has proven to me that I want a Tesla worse than anything in this world. But I'm like you. I'm just not going to buy a brand new one.
Now, if you get anything but a Cybertruck, you can find good stuff on the used market.
How long you think it'd be before I can find a Cybertruck? You probably beat me to
years, probably. Yeah.
I saw one at a dealership in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, one sitting on the lot. First one I've ever seen.
So now here's the thing about the full self-drive and buying from a dealership. Okay. So typically, let's say I sell you my car. Mm-hmm. The full self-drive goes with the car.
Makes sense.
Sometimes they'll do specials where I can transfer my full self-drive if I buy a new one. That's how I got it on that one, actually. Mm-hmm.
Was that one new when you bought it?
Yes.
Okay.
If you sell the car to a dealership, mm-hmm. and then the dealership sells it to an individual, it loses the full self-drive.
So how do you get it back?
You have to pay for it. They do that to kind of keep the dealers from doing what car dealers do.
Right.
So
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
Guys, we got an all-star guest on. I am so excited to have him on this program today because, number one, he's got some great stories to tell. Number two, he's a guy we haven't had one of his type on in a while. It's time. It was time to have one on. So I'm excited to have him. I want to give him the introduction he's always deserved. Ladies and gentlemen, he's originally from San Diego, California. Born, raised, and lives in San Diego. He is a graduate of Pepperdine University. We're going to talk about that today. And we're also going to talk about how he ruined the First Lady, Laura Bush's, carpet in the East Wing of the White House. Great job. In 2007 to 2021, he was with Great American Insurance as a casualty underwriter. From underwriting associate to senior vice president, primary and excess casualty. From 2021 to 26, he's with Palomar Specialty Insurance Company, and he's founded the in-house casualty division and scaled it to 6 lines of business. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor today to introduce to you first-time guest on the IGP, Mr. Ty Robben. How are you, Ty?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. It's a real honor.
Thank you for being on the show today. We've got so much to talk about, but before we do, please.
There's only one thing I want to talk about.
Please tell us how you managed to piss off Laura Bush, First Lady of the United States of America.
Yeah, I'm not sure she knows. Now she will, because I'm sure she's a listener to the podcast.
100%.
She does, yeah. It's actually Jenna is a regular listener to the podcast.
Yeah,
so she'll probably tell her mom. Yeah.
Pepperdine's got a DC internship program, and I somehow wrangled an internship at the White House. And I was in the White House management office, which is the lowest level you could be. The gophers of the White House. Lampshade needed replaced, new printer toner. Somebody needed a park outside the West Wing. We handled that stuff. And that was spring semester of my sophomore year. And then somebody above me left for a better position. And I said, "Hey, I could use a summer job." And they said, "Okay, we'll hire you, but you have to stay through the fall semester through his reelection campaign. We couldn't hire you just for 3 months." So they hired me on for the rest of the year. I stayed there for a calendar year. And then one time I had followed my boss to change copier toner all over the White House grounds. We got a call from the East Wing. It's like a 20-minute walk from the office building we were in. Told him, "Boss, I got this. I'll go change the toner myself." Obviously, I didn't watch him that closely and how he changed the toner because I didn't realize one side of copier toner is open. And if you put the open side of that copier toner down, you're gonna get a huge pile of powder toner on the ground. And the first lady's copier was in a hallway closet in the East Wing. Carpet was just replaced a couple weeks prior, and I pulled
Mm.
the toner out of that copier, set it down in the hallway, picked up the toner, and there's a huge pile of black powder in the middle of the hallway.
How'd you
So
fix it?
did you just walk away or
No, I called my boss right away, fessed up, and said, "I messed up really bad. I just dumped toner all over the first lady's carpet." And that's when I learned they had just replaced the carpet 2 weeks before, because that's the first thing he said. Said, "Oh no, she just had that carpet replaced a couple weeks ago." And he said, "Just stay there. The janitorial people will be right over, help you clean it up." And, being a 20-year-old kid at the time, I thought I was fired immediately. Next day, taking the subway into work, I thought for sure there's going to be a pink slip on my desk. No pink slip. I walked over to the East Wing first thing that next morning, and it was all cleaned up as if nothing had ever happened. I
Wow.
owe that cleaning staff my
they
White
re-
House career, I
they
guess.
replaced the whole carpet?
Do you think that? Do you think
Probably.
they replaced the whole carpet, or do you think they actually had something to get it out?
I think they had something to get it out, but,
Yeah.
who knows? There's a lot of stuff I don't know about what happened at the
Was
White House there, so
Yeah. Was this a part of the East Wing they do the tours in?
yeah, that's right.
So it
Yeah.
was gonna get beat to hell eventually anyway.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure they replace those pretty often.
So,
Yeah.
so Ty,
Yeah.
tell me this. I've always wondered this. So you've got the downstairs where the Oval Office is, right? And
Mhm.
you've got that part of the White House. But I've always been told
The residence is upstairs.
the residence is on the is it the second floor or the third floor?
I think it's the 2nd and the 3rd floor. Yeah, you're not even staff is allowed to go up a
Okay,
level in that main residence.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
from the spiral staircase down, going up, and I'm sure there's elevators, 2 or 3 elevators, secret elevators where you can, if you know what you're doing, walk to this, hit a button, and go upstairs. But y'all just never. It was like, don't you dare walk, don't you dare go up to the second floor.
Yeah, and the executive office building, we were right across from the West Wing. So just walk across the parking lot into the West Wing. We weren't even allowed to go through the main residence. We'd have to go through the back kitchen to get to the East Wing, which is
Right,
why I offered to go for my boss. I'm like, this is going to take you away from your desk for a
Yeah.
while. Let me do it.
right,
But every once in a while, there'd be a call for the Oval Office. We'd get to go in the main residence. But
sure,
in my 12 months there, I'd probably got to go in there like 4 or 5 times at the
right.
most.
What's the craziest thing you saw that you can talk about? Or you may have not seen anything.
Do you have to sign an NDA when you get there or when you leave? Like, I'm not going to talk about anything.
Honestly, I don't remember. Part of the reason why they couldn't hire me for 3 months was because they had to do a full background check, and they're like, "This thing takes 4 months. You'll be gone before the background check's even gone." And they
Yeah.
talked. This is pretty crazy. They talked to neighbors I had forgotten I lived by when I stayed with my aunt for one summer.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
it was a pretty big, pretty deep background check. I didn't see anything crazy. I think the wildest part about that experience was realizing I never want to get into politics again,
Yeah.
because you have hundreds of thousands of people throughout DC. making pennies on the dollar, working for people, and you have no idea behind closed doors how they're reaching the decisions that they're making. And
Mm,
you're basically sacrificing your whole life for these people. I went, this
Yeah.
isn't for me.
yeah.
I'll tell you the funniest thing. I don't think I talked about this on our debrief podcast. I went to the White House last year. The funniest thing I saw, and it was a little intentional thing that nobody would really notice, but and regardless of anybody's politics, Trump is so petty, it's hilarious sometimes.
Hmm.
So we're going through this like corridor where they've got
Is this the
several,
White House?
yeah, where they've got presidential photographs or paintings. And I'm like, I don't see Obama. And Secret Service goes, you have to turn around. So you have to do an entire 180, and where it's positioned in the room, nobody sees it.
Mm,
Like, and I'm like, I guarantee you that's on purpose.
Mm.
It's because you walk into this room with this oh, it's gorgeous, and you don't think to just turn around. And the other thing that was funny was there was a picture of Laura Bush and a picture of Hillary Clinton, and in the middle was Trump.
Jeez.
It's like,
Mm.
as much as a Republican, as much as sometimes having a 12-year-old running our country scares me, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one thing to watch out for, if you ever have a family member or a friend of a friend of a friend that is working for the White House, ask that person for a West Wing tour because you'll get a lot of the behind the scenes story. In fact, the Secret Service has a 4 or 5 page document of all the best stories
Huh.
because staff give those tours. So if I had friends or family in town, I'd be able to give them a West Wing tour, and they'd give us this 5 page document with all the coolest, most heartwarming stories about various administrations
mm.
and pranks. Not at liberty to share any of those on this podcast,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the White House and changes of administration. It's not a whole lot different than high school pranks.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
Right.
Well,
it's
at the end of the day, like, powerful people are just people,
yeah, exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
So let's get into insurance for a minute.
Okay. If we have to.
Well, before we do that though, I want to go back to your time at Pepperdine. Now I've known 2 or 3 people who've gone to school at Pepperdine. Very
Mhm.
prestigious. I believe it's a liberal arts school, right? And then a
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
So is it true? Because I've never actually laid eyes on Pepperdine, that it sits on top of like a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It's right. The Santa Monica Mountains are right up against the ocean there, and Pepperdine carved out a bunch of land on the side of one of those mountains. You can't be out of shape at Pepperdine. You're always walking up a hill,
Really? Yeah.
but it's a pristine piece of land there in Malibu. It's not right on the beach. It's not like UCSB in Santa Barbara where you can just walk right out on the beach, but it's got great views, amazing campus.
Is it damaged at all by the wildfires a couple of years ago?
I saw videos of the flames from the library, but I didn't hear of any significant damage. Maybe a
Yeah.
couple of faculty houses, which are off the main campus, but they have a pretty good fire department there. We did have one fire when I was there that burned up fairly close, but yeah, that fire department at that university is amazing. They've endured quite a few fires
Wow.
burned up to campus, but
So
yeah,
now I want to get into the casualty insurance type side of
yeah,
this thing.
sure.
Been a while, Bradley, since we had an underwriter on.
mm-hmm.
Couple of years ago, still in a hard market. I'm hearing rumblings that the casualty market's going to get like really hard. And I think it did harden up, but maybe not as hard as some people thought it was going to get. Where are we at today with the casualty market? I know
Mhm.
from a property standpoint, we seem to continue to be at a race to the bottom. especially commercial property throughout the country. Now, I'm painting with a big brush. I realize there's some areas that probably haven't dropped as much, but where are we at with casualty? Here. Yeah, super soft here. Yeah.
Yeah. I think hard market's over. Casualty, I think, is the last holdout. And I think just 6 months ago in general casualty, I do general primary casualty, which is the non-specialty lines.
Sure.
So it's not professional, not environmental. It's just general liability and auto. Rates were easily high single digits, even getting teens. So reinsurers were saying, why aren't you getting low teens or 10%? You're only getting 7 or 8. Now, I would be surprised if general casualty is getting 4 or 5. So it's not negative yet, but I think we've passed peak rate increases for sure.
Good deal. So I know there for a while, I don't know if this is still the case or not, but in my agency, we did a lot of Fannie and Freddie type loans, and they had some casualty requirements that were you just couldn't find a couple of years ago. You know what I'm talking about relative to
For sure.
excess? What was it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what it was. It was like
excess liability.
I guess it was excess liability. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. It was some of that habitational stuff that we do where Fannie and Freddie had these requirements for like I'm trying to remember what it was, but the limits we couldn't find them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Now I'm understanding why you're saying that 2 years ago it was they were saying it's going to get worse and worse. The hard market was at Great American doing excess liability on large accounts started in 2019. And all the people that trained me starting in the early 2000s would drill into my head that hard markets only last 2 or 3 years and soft markets will last 7 to 10 years. And the entire first part of my career was a soft market. It was almost 12 years. And then 2019, all of a sudden people started pulling back limits, pulling back capacity, increasing rates. So by 2021, I was already telling my bosses at Great American, hard market's over, let's get ready. Because one of the bigger mistakes we made when I first started my career was we walked away from too much business when rates started softening. And before we know it, we're trying to win that business back a few years later at half the rate we walked away from. So I was trying to warn them, like, hey, let's be a little bit smarter about the turn in the market in 2021. And that's why you can't judge the present or the future based on the past, because what do you know, fast forward to 24, 25, rates are still going up. And a lot of people are, they can't even see a soft market around the corner as of just a year or two ago. But I started to get a little suspicious third quarter, fourth quarter last year when Chubb and everybody was posting record results. It seemed like every insurance company, record results. And I'm like, yeah, this has got to be the top. I mean, this has got to end. And property had already turned soft by that point. D&O turned soft way before that. So I think I don't know, habitational, like you're talking about, and distressed auto, that may never get soft because social inflation is so bad. A quick story about habitational business. We got in at Great American in 2019, 2020 when we heard Everest was pulling out of habitational on the East Coast. And we said, you know what, we're going to put on large retentions. We're going to go heavy into habitational. Fellow underwriter in the industry told me I was the dumbest person in the world. Nobody makes money at habitational. And boy, was he right. So there's just certain lines of business that the market hasn't figured out how to price correctly and underwrite correctly. And I think auto and habitational on the casualty side are two of those lines. But everything else, I'd be shocked if rates are still positive a year from now.
Well, it's always too, like, if you want to know what lines of business are really hard to figure out, look at all of the insurtech carriers and look at what they don't do.
Yeah.
Because the insurtech carriers always immediately go to the easiest lines of business.
Yeah.
And now that insurtech is not fully fledged, but it's definitely more common, it's like there's like 3 or 4 gaping holes in the industry. It's like, yeah, nobody wants to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, part of that is capacity. It's like if it's a
Yeah,
distressed line of business like habitational or auto, to get reinsurance capacity, they want somebody who's really experienced in the industry. They don't want somebody off the street trying to do that. So
yeah,
on those distressed lines of business, you really got to be coming with them. It's like this underwriter's been doing it for 20, 30 years. So if anybody's going to
right,
make money, it's this guy.
right, right.
Hey Ty,
Yeah.
I've got a great question for you. I think
Yeah.
how has AI, artificial intelligence, changed your what you do in your specific role? How or has it? Maybe it hasn't.
Not a whole lot. I think it's changed how I do what I do. So there's a lot of inefficiencies in how you write complex casualty business. It's a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of different systems,
Mm-hmm.
files are everywhere. So using AI to say, how can I duplicate this Excel workbook for next year's renewal and move all the current data into the expiring data field so I don't have to enter it manually? So how you do what you do is changing. Uh, I think we're still a year or two away from insurance companies figuring out how best to deploy AI to actually assist you in your underwriting. There's definitely a bunch of vendors out there offering like submission triage and ingestion and help you prioritize your submission. But going as far to say, hey, this AI agent's gonna look at all the knowledge in your company and it's going to say, hey, Ty, you got to write this thing right away. This is a gem based on everything we see. I think we're still a year or two away from that, but first steps are there.
So I know there's something you're developing yourself around
Mhm.
agentic AI. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. When we were standing up our system at Palomar, I started that casualty division from scratch with just an Excel sheet. We were missing a lot of components to process the business that we needed to. So I started trying to vibe code a submission clearance platform. And I got hooked because it built a UI the first night I tried it out a year and a half ago. And I
Yeah,
went, holy crap, I'm coding.
yeah, yeah.
So I put in like ABC construction and sent it to a database and nothing really happened. So I think a little advice for everybody when you first try out AI and you get that aha moment, there's going to be a plateau period where you're like, this really isn't working. Just stick with it, and then you'll get another breakthrough down the road. But it's developed to where just in the past 3 or 4 months, I've gone from submission clearance all the way through the time the submission comes in, all the way to endorsing and renewing the policy and full accounting system behind it. And that's just on the nights after I put my son down to bed, and on the weekends. Sometimes my agents are building that platform during the workday now, but a lot of times it's just 2 or 3 hours at night, just saying like, "Hey, here's how I do what I do at work. Can you build something
Yeah.
to make it better?"
I saw a really good tip. It was actually Dan Martell, who can be a little hokey sometimes, but he said when you want to build something in an AI platform or vibe code something or whatever, I actually hate the term vibe coding, but um, give it the end result first.
Hmm.
So, like, start with this is what I'm trying to accomplish. How can you accomplish this?
Mm.
Rather than start
Yep.
at the beginning. And I was like,
Yep.
that's a really interesting way to think about it. Also, because if you think about like your employees, like my best employees, I, I that's how I communicate. I tell them this is what we're trying to accomplish. Go figure that out.
Yep.
Versus other folks, you may be like, all right, step one, step two,
Yeah.
step three. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I'm doing the same thing. Like my wife is like, why are you on the computer at 11 o'clock at night? Why are you on the computer when I wake up at 4? I'm like, I'm just obsessed with this. It's so cool. Like I'm just playing around, you know?
I know. Yeah, she accuses it of being my girlfriend. And I tell her, I'm like, sweetie, I'm not telling her my feelings. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
get her to build me some insurance systems.
Well,
Right.
But
I'll tell you something weird that happened to me, and I am a little bit embarrassed to say this.
Uh-oh.
So I have I've moved over from ChatGPT to Claude, Well, I had a channel on ChatGPT that I moved over to Claude that was basically like everything I eat, and it would count my macros for me. I could even ping it, and it would let me know, like, based on where I was, what's close to me, that because I have like a pretty specific diet that I follow, even though I didn't follow it today. And then I would plug my workouts in, all that kind of, because I'm just like, I just want you to tell me what to do, you know? So it's basically like nutritionist slash personal trainer all in one. And the other day I slipped up and I ate a coconut popsicle, which is delicious. And for a brief moment, I felt self-conscious of what the AI would think of me for eating the popsicle. You know what I mean?
That's where it gets a little scary.
That's where it, like, I'm like, okay, I could see somebody who is like maybe has no social skills, like really talking to these AI as a person. You know what I mean? I was, because it was almost like that feeling of like disappointment. You know, I was like, and it does kind of talk to me a little bit like, oh, you really screwed up today. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, Claude is like that. They're really good
Scott's
at
rolling his eyes
adding.
at me.
Yeah, Claude has a lot of personality. They'll suck you in like a friend. GPT is more like a robot,
Yeah.
which I prefer that. But
I'll tell you. Go ahead.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, to add on to that advice you mentioned earlier, tell it your end goal, but then you could even ask it, how should I build a prompt to accomplish this goal? And then it'll literally tell you like, hey, do this, give me this info, then this info, then this info, and then say this, and that'll help you achieve your goal.
I'll tell you something else too. So I found an SEO and one of these SEO analysis tools online this weekend, and it was like $9. So I put my website in, and it gave me a report on things I could fix SEO wise. So I woke up this morning, I go to my laptop, I open Claude Cowork, paste that report in. Hey, fix these things. I go take a shower and go get dressed, and then I come back and it's done when I get back. And so that's like a time saving. Like, I would have had to do that. Like, I can do all of those things, but I would have had to have done it. Now it's doing it while I'm getting dressed.
How did you give it access to be able to fix it?
So because Claude Cowork lives on your browser, if you use a password manager, it knows everything that you know. So it just went to WordPress, fixed the stuff, saved it, and was good to go. You know,
you'll get there with the agents building this platform that I've been having them build. You actually get stressed out to go to sleep at night, or to like
you might
go
miss
somewhere on the
something.
weekend. You get stressed out for not giving it something to do while you're doing something else. There's all this pressure of like, oh, I better give it something to work on all night, or while I'm out at that T-ball game.
Yeah. I'll tell you something else too. So I didn't show you this. I can show you this in a little bit. So Grok, which is Elon's AI.
Right.
My car has Grok on it. So I'm on my way to work the other day, and I had to have like a difficult conversation. So I turn Grok on and I tell it I want to practice. And so me and Grok practiced the conversation.
Wow.
And I got that idea. There's a guy on TikTok that is a sales guy, and every morning on his way to work, he practices cold calling with Grok, and he films it for TikTok. Yeah, it's crazy. So this platform that you're building, is this something that you guys are using proprietary in-house, something you're going to offer to other carriers programs down the road? And what is this going to accomplish for you? I'm assuming efficiency, but I don't want to say just that.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of vendors that we've worked with over the past few years, the first one was incomplete. It was a relatively young insurtech company. It didn't have all the components, which is what got me started. The second one's a more legacy platform, but it's got some hidden tech debt. So I'm just trying to build something better that I could bring to the tech team. But yeah, as of today, though, I actually just left Palomar. So
As of
I've got,
today?
Friday was my last day.
This guy quit his job. We asked him to come on the podcast, and he quit his job.
Yeah, yeah, I'm famous now, so I was like, no, it had been a little bit in the works, but
Well, I noticed the
yeah,
thing said 2026.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So that just became official Friday, and yeah, my intent for the platform, I don't want to build a SaaS company. I would rather just build the most optimal system for underwriting business as fast as possible. And complex casualty, it takes way too long to underwrite a risk.
Well,
Takes even longer to get policies and endorsements. So I want to build the system that allows me to do that as fast as possible.
and that is to me the whole MGA space
Mhm.
is the most disruptive part of insurance. It's so
Yeah.
fragmented, it's so manual, and nobody's really been able, like, there's been newer startup MGAs that have done a really good job. Nova is
Mhm.
one, but nobody's really fixed the incumbents. And
Yeah.
I have a theory on this. So, a friend of mine, I've told this story before, but a friend of mine was buying an agency and he wanted me to look at the numbers just to give him my thoughts, right? Agency was 30 years in business, Ty, and they were $280,000 in revenue.
Mhm.
So, by all accounts, a huge failure, right?
Yeah.
So, I asked him, I said, well, what's their EBITDA? And he said, $230,000. I'm like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, this guy's like runs it off a cell phone. And I'm like, this dude crushed it. Like he made $230,000 a year and doesn't have that many, you know what I mean? And so I think
Yeah.
that speaks to a greater problem in insurance is that to some degree it's really easy to make money. And
Mhm.
so many of these big MGAs are making money hand over fist and their attitude is like, why change?
Yeah.
Like, why do we need to change? And I think that's part of the issue because, dude, the submission process for us, whether it's an RPS or an AmWins or whoever, RT, it's like, it's awful.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Bradley's been saying that for years. I'd say for the better part of 4 years, I've been hearing you say that there is blue ocean for somebody to come in and absolutely wipe the floor with these RPS, AmWins, GenCap, wholesale broker. Somebody can figure out how to make a better mousetrap.
Yeah.
There's blue ocean there, right? I mean, haven't you been
Yeah.
saying that for about 4
Yeah.
years?
Yeah. Yeah. Here's what I'll say about that. I think they're well aware that they're disruptible, and I think they're working really hard, especially with AI, to disrupt themselves. I think that's why they're acquiring all the MGAs that they are,
Yeah.
I think they are
take on
now.
more of the underwriting.
I think
Yeah.
this AI stuff is moving so fast. It's almost
Yeah.
forcing everybody's hand to say, "Oh, wait a minute."
Yeah.
And you're going to see some that are going to legitimately pull it off. You're going to see some that are it's like a bullshit smoke and mirror. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is our
Mhm.
AI. You know, there was a company that launched an AI tool last week that a vendor that we use has had since inception, and inception was like 10 years ago. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um,
Yeah.
and it's
What
delineating
does
between
that
the
look
two.
like? What does that look like to you for somebody to disrupt the big boys, the big 3 or 4 that are out there? Would that
It's a
look
great
like
question.
cutting out the middleman in terms of that underwriter for, I'm just going to throw one out there, RPS, so that the agency's dealing directly with the carrier, but you're still writing through a brokerage?
That could be one version of it. Another version of it would be only getting the underwriter involved. And by underwriter, I don't mean at the carrier side. I mean the person
Correct. The
at the
middleman.
MGA,
Mm-hmm.
only getting them involved in either higher level stuff or when there's an issue. You know what I
And then
mean?
most stuff just passed
Um,
through.
yeah, yeah. To me that's the bottleneck is, you know, we're filling out online applications or court forms, sending them to an underwriter at the MGA, and then that person's just working on it when they feel like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
probably what they're doing in a lot of cases is just taking the data from the Accords and plugging it into a thing and then going back. Like I went round and round with, I think, the CEO of Velocity. And I was like, why don't you guys just, because Velocity at the time, we were writing a lot of business through Velocity. The underwriter at RPS was literally just punching it into a system that would give the rate back. So we're having to wait on this underwriter. I'm like, why don't you guys just give access directly to the agents? And he said it was two things. One, we don't trust the agents, the retails. And then two, the MGA can manage the relationship for us. They don't want to manage that relationship, which I totally get both of those things, you know, but to me, there's too many people getting their beak wet.
Well, and you know? I would say the other thing that Bradley didn't mention that we've talked about before is, I believe, after doing a little bit of recon on my own, these bigger companies like RPS, GenCap, Amwins have some form of Ivans that's downloading policy data into their system.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes not, but then there's no way to download it from their system into the retail agency system. So if there was a way to be able, because that's another pain point for a retail agency, is you got this bunch of policies that does download, and you've got robotic automation running, and then now you've got AI running to help you get your stuff all put where it's supposed to be. But then there's this whole other group of policies that doesn't. And it's super easy for something to get missed, whether it's at the renewal or at the new business submission, and you're like, oh crap, I forgot to put this stuff in there because I forgot this stuff doesn't download.
Yeah.
So that's another white space that we have there. Somebody's going to figure that shit out one day.
Well, it's just like, if you look at any industry, it's the middleman that gets squeezed the most.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why they're acquiring the MGAs and doing a bit more underwriting and getting reinsurance capacity, is they know they need to do more underwriting to justify.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get over their skis with the middleman argument, because easily the highest value thing that a broker intermediary does is you go to one person and they access multiple markets. You don't have to go to multiple markets yourself. But the best ones, like you said, there are those paper pushers who are just forwarding emails. They're most at risk. There are those ones that can say, hey, Ty is kind of moody on Thursdays. And he's got this bias against Reading, so we're going to send it over to Charles instead. So that's where the real value is. But yeah, that's what I'm working on with this platform, is how can we get everybody's systems to talk to each other and share that information right away. So it's like, yeah, it goes straight through wholesale or retail or whoever and says, you know, Ty's company can't consider this, so we logged it in for you, but it's marked as declined. Give them a call if you think it's wrong, and then you can move on to your other markets.
Yeah. So in 2013, I went to work for a company called Alpha Insurance, Alabama's version of Farm Bureau. I worked there for 6 years, 6.5 years, about 3.5 years too long. And I until 2017, every time we wrote a policy, whether it was commercial or personal lines, it was written on a paper application. That paper application was put into an envelope, stuck in the mail, and mailed to the home office. And God forbid there was a fire between the day you mailed it and the day it got there. That went to an underwriter's desk, and it was manually underwritten. And what they did is they implemented Guidewire in 2017. And what that did was eliminate the manual part of the underwriting unless something was flagged. And it sounds like I'm complimenting Alpha. I kind of am. But to me, that's if I'm a big MGA or a wholesaler, that's what I'm looking at, is like, hey, how much of this process can we automate without having to get people involved? And then we have our underwriters do higher level stuff.
100%. That's the other side of that coin is even if we figured out the sharing of data and applications and automated that part, how good are your internal systems at processing that? And I think that's what a lot of incumbents are going to struggle with is they haven't done that Guidewire. Guidewire is great. With a proper implementation with Guidewire, I've talked to if colleague underwriters on well implemented Guidewire systems, they can quote something in 7 minutes from receipt, which is pretty insane in my space. But there's a lot of incumbents that are just stuck on legacy tech, and to rip it out and replace it is just a non-starter for the large majority of
Yeah.
brokers and carriers. So I tell a lot of people like, hey, before we do the portal or the connection to Amwins and CRC, et cetera, let's get the internal system right first, because once it's in our hands, we need to be able to handle it faster. So I
Yeah.
tell a lot of people, I'm like, you don't need to figure out whether they're full of crap with AI or not. Just see if they truly are faster. Like if all of a sudden one
Right.
day you're getting instant declines and requests for info and your policy arrives right away, they figured something out. But
Yeah.
if all you're hearing is buzzwords and they're still just as slow as they were before.
Yeah. I'll tell you a
Yeah.
story. So a couple years ago, I got a phone call from a friend. He's like, "Hey, I've got somebody who wants to meet you." I was like, "Okay." And I don't remember the exact title, but it was something like VP of Insurance at Apple. And I was like, "Okay, I'll take that call." And so I get on the call with this guy, and I was like, "So like, what do you do?" And what he did was all of the major tech companies have a person who is assigned to a specific major industry, and they basically interface with people in that industry to make the product better. Facebook has one, Adobe has one, et cetera, et cetera. And this guy was that for insurance at Apple. And we were especially interesting to him because we're one of one agency in Alabama that's all on Apple. And he said, well, the ethos behind my mission, other than making money for Apple, is you have this whole generation, and this is not an Apple versus Android argument, but you have this whole generation of Gen Z and Gen Alpha after them that have not been on anything. He's like 82% of them have been on nothing but an Apple ecosystem. And you're going to hire them into your agency or into your MGA or into your carrier. And you're going to sit them in front of legacy tech that looks like it's an Excel spreadsheet, and in some cases is actually an Excel spreadsheet. And you expect that to not have a negative impact at scale on the future of the insurance industry, where like 82% of the insurance industry is over 60 years old. And I was like, you just hit the nail on the freaking head. Can you come on
Yeah.
the podcast? And he said, no. But
Why?
I don't know. But it's very that's another piece of this is just the recruiting aspect of it. Like we have hired people that have told us they wanted to come to work at Portal because of our technology.
Yep. Yeah, that's happened a lot slower than I thought.
Yeah.
I was saying at a Great American 12, 13 years ago that taking days to get back on a submission and a month and a half to deliver a policy for young people is not going to be acceptable for brokers. Shockingly enough, 15 years later, it's still
Yeah.
acceptable somehow, but
Yeah.
that day's going to come.
I'll tell you something we deal with our brokers is so we use Ascend for all of our payables and receivables. And so the way that works is the customer pays Ascend, and then it goes through an approval process, and I have a screen that I go into every morning, and I make sure the numbers are right and approve for it to go to the carrier or the MGA. And I don't get paid until I hit that approve button. The MGA doesn't get paid, and my MGAs and my underwriters get annoyed with me because I'm like, hey, I need the invoice for this. I need the invoice for this. They're like, we don't have it yet. I'm like, I'm just trying to pay you guys. And sometimes
Yeah.
I will actually get I say letter, it's a PDF through email that says we need this policy to be paid or we're going to cancel it before I have the policy or the invoice.
Yep.
And it's like, why can't that be instantly, You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell you why from the carrier side is because we've built a bunch of insurance factories that are building gasoline cars,
Yep.
and they need to rebuild the entire factory, and nobody, you've got to build the gigafactory for an
Mm-hmm.
insurance system. Guidewire's gotten there, but that's why they have monopoly power and they charge 8 figures for an implementation and 7 figures a year
Yep.
because they finally, but it's still on the old technology.
Yeah. We
But
need somebody to build Guidewire, but make it open source.
yeah. I mean, I've talked to people that have looked at the system and they're like, "Do you want to sell it? Are you okay sharing it?" And I told them it's like my true belief is that SaaS is done. Software is the digital music of the 2020s in that all the models have access to what's in the software and can replicate it so easily. So the value of software is zero. So I've told them to the extent that this underwriting platform is commoditizable in the future, I will gladly share it. I said there's a few key architectural issues I've identified. When I first built the prototype and asked the agents if I'd solved them, it said no, you hadn't.
Yeah.
So I have to redo it all again. I'm definitely not sharing those things right now, but yeah, I think most software, I wouldn't worry about keeping it private. I think
Yeah.
open source software, and then it's just going to come down to how good you are with the deal. How good are you with people? How much underwriting expertise do you have? How good are you using AI to process the business? But people get going too fast. I don't think that's going to be the case a year or two from now, but I think 5 years from now,
Yeah.
probably
Did you
better
see
cut.
did you see where somebody on Twitter uh built DocuSign? Did you see
Yeah,
that?
I just saw that this morning.
They
Yeah,
built a free
so
version of
cool.
DocuSign. And DocuSign charges like a stupid amount of money for like
Yeah,
and it's like stuff like that. Like if I said this on a recent podcast, but like if your moat is you hold your customers captive, your days are numbered.
yeah,
Like if the only thing that you use to separate yourself are difficult contracts and
Mm-hmm.
high prices and you lock people down, like it's over. It's just a matter of
yeah,
when, and
yeah.
it's
So what
it's like I always tell people with technology, it's um like I have nothing wrong with people having like 12-month agreements, contracts and stuff like that. But it kind of tells you what their confidence is in their product.
hmm
Like it's a little small indication of we might not be totally confident. Now, are there caveats? Sure. If there's a really difficult implementation for the person, there's caveats. But generally, if it's a software you can purchase and have access and deploy it that day, and you've got really difficult contracts, like generally I would run.
Yeah, and that's why it's taken so long to see any progress in insurance is because it is way more complicated than anybody thinks.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate dichotomy. We sell two intangible goods. An underwriting decision is the first product we're delivering, and then a promise to pay a claim. But to deliver those two things on the backside with carriers, MGAs, and reinsurers, all managing stuff, it is really, really tough. So I think it'll be a while before we see progress, but I think we're going to see a lot more progress in the next 5 years than we did the last 15.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Sweet. You want to close us out?
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking about him talking. Ty was talking about 5 or 6, 7 years ago how you guys were trying to overcharge or charge too much for some risk that, looking back on it now, you probably should have taken. Do you remember we talked
Yeah,
about that at the
that
beginning?
was almost 20 years ago, so that's not a Palomar story, I should say. But yeah, that was right after the Katrina hard market. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, I remember that. And I don't know. So many things have changed, but it'd just be interesting to see in the next 5 years. Like if we could do the I Dream of Jeannie thing and just be like, doink, and then be 5 years ahead to see where we are,
Yeah,
It's going to
that's the
be
thing I'm
interesting.
wrestling. as an underwriter, that's the thing I'm wrestling with is this another 12-year soft market? Because at that point, I wouldn't want to be walking away from a lot of business right now. Or has it flipped and we have long hard markets, 7-year hard market, and we only have a 2-year soft market and everybody overreacts in that scenario, you probably do want to walk away from a lot of business and then come back a couple of years later. So nobody knows. That's what makes the game so fun.
If I had to bet, gun to my head right now, I would bet that it's a shorter, like 7 years than it is 12. Just because while there was a time period for about 4 years where it seemed like every 6 months from the national standpoint, we were either having a flood in Houston, a flood in Nashville, wildfires in California, hurricanes coming through the Gulf. And I would bet on 7 more than I think. I think I would predict 7 before I predicted 12.
The other thing that could mess all of that up is what we talked about last week. Is the federal government monkeying around and sticking their nose in.
You think that
PNC
could happen?
Insurance. There's a lot of smoke out there.
Because, buddy, I'm telling you right now, if they ever cut out the requirement to have auto insurance, this place it'll look like junk cars going by each other out there. Like everybody's damn fenders will all be dented in. And
well, if you just look at Trump literally flew to California for a whole thing about PNC insurance. Like,
when did that happen?
3 or 4 months ago.
Oh.
There's your states like California, New York, Florida. Even though Florida's kind of turning around, who would have ever thought tort reform would work, right?
Right.
I think it could definitely happen. Now, I think, as I said on the last episode, I think that the associations are a lot stronger, and the PACs are a lot stronger that support insurance than they are on the health insurance side. And also in the health, it's an emotional thing, right. People's health, versus PNC. But the thing about it is, Ty, is like, the solution for insurance. So Scott and I have a very good friend who's running for insurance commissioner in California, has a really good shot at winning. 30-year insurance vet. Her competitor is taking the stance of, I'm not going to suck up to the insurance companies at all. The insurance companies are the enemy. And I'm like, that sounds good. That'll probably get you elected, but that's the exact opposite of what you should do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should take their money and like make backdoor deals, but I'm saying you should
hear them out,
conversate with them, hear them out. You want to attract, because what happens is you make it difficult for them to do business. They leave. Now you have a supply and demand problem. No one insurer can insure everything. They've got to go up on rates. And so a lot of times in insurance, the solution for the consumer is the opposite of what the consumer thinks it is. Just like the whole
100%.
shopping your insurance every year. Shopping your insurance every year, or moving your insurance every year doesn't lead to lower rates.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah. More intervention, the worse the outcomes are. My personal view is they should be finding the companies that are finding ways to provide the service cheaper, better, more efficiently, empowering those companies and putting pressure on the incumbents to do that. But yeah, intervening in the open marketplace, I don't know. Not a lot of good experience.
Well, and then too, like you look at Florida, I mean, in 2023, Florida accounted for 83% of the insurance litigation for the entire United States of America.
Yeah.
And you may say, well, they have a lot of claims because of hurricanes. They only accounted for 8% of the claims that year. So it's not the hurricanes, it's the lawyers.
Yeah. We could go on for a whole nother hour, but on the casualty side, what's interesting is if you disrupt casualty insurance, you reduce the cost of providing casualty coverage to an absolute minimum. The knock-on effect of that is in the legal realm.
Yeah.
With attorneys. You talk about middlemen and rent seeking. Sorry, all attorneys out there. I think you really reduce the cost of insurance if, one, you cut out all the fat and insurance carriers, reinsurers, and brokers. And then number 2, you address the legal system, which is what Florida's done with their tort reform. You could have a really incredible soft market at that point.
Yeah. See, I think the way here's how I would do tort reform. If I sue you and I lose, I have to pay your attorney's fees.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
the way it is in most of the other countries of the world.
yeah. That gets rid of your frivolous lawsuits right there, you know? But yeah, it's like one of the funniest realizations I had when I got into insurance, is, you know, you see the daytime TV attorney commercials. I'm going to stand up to the insurance companies. I hate the biggest farce in advertising is that the attorneys hate insurance companies. The office I worked at Alpha, we had an adjuster in there. We shared an office with an adjuster. So I fielded a lot of calls from attorneys. And there's this one guy that has a lot of commercials here. And he would, they freaking love us. They love us. They're paid to, like
Oh yeah, we're their big check.
yeah, exactly.
Well,
it's like
we're not.
they want the good working relationship, you know?
Yeah. This economy, I keep thinking the bubble's going to pop any minute for the last 7 years. And part of me is starting to wonder, like, how much of this economy is propped up by insurance payments, health insurance, lawsuits. I mean, I think it's something that hasn't been explored, but I bet there's a lot of money floating around just from the insurance space that are getting people along versus regular wages,
Yeah,
government subsidies.
absolutely.
It's interesting.
Ty,
We're in a
thank
great
you.
space.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's very, very interesting. Ty, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm going to shut this thing down. As I end every episode, rewards come from action, not discussion. Get your ass out from behind that desk today. Go out into the big bad world and create and build relationships. Go make money for your family, for your wife, for your husband, for your kids' college fund, and for your parents and in-laws like mine that are struggling out there. Go make money for them. Write good business for the agencies that you represent, and write good business for the carriers that you represent. Bradley Flowers, I love you.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Ty.
Ty,
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
anytime, brother. We love you. Guys, you are listening to the Insurance Guys podcast, and we love each one of you. Thank you so much for being a part of our family, and we'll see you back here real soon. Take care.